rather obviously, Lenin's Houdini was the perfect crime. So I'll explain a little bit more about what I know about it. One of the things that made it so perfect was that the perpetrators came collecting as the victims. Perfect crime. Michael Caine probably was one of them. One of the things that I know was that when I was a child, just a very frightened, traumatized, and battered child, they would come up to me with sledgehammer blows to the head, blindside, and walk me out into the middle of the coldest, darkest alleys. And tell me to use inhalants, which paralyzed me. They had implanted a nerve agent, and they used hypnosis from a brutal Zionist and a Polish Hun who imprinted Hitler's mindset. He had vile, vicious eyes, and he would stare in a very controlling way. And of course, the brain fog that came from industrial inhalants being breathed as heavy elixirs neurotoxic me. So that one of the people who was involved in this was a real estate agent for the Zionist community named Sue Samuel Elkind. And the reason I've always suspected her was that her this famous poem from No Longer Afraid, how can one hear in a fog? That always seemed to me very strange coming from the crowd that had done this to me. How can I hear in a fog? You can't think. You can't move. You can't direct the neurons to move, much less can you run away or escape or think clearly. So paralysis was one of Ona's fetish weapons. Then they ran these things by me about Jim Croce and stuff as I fell asleep with the phone in my hand. It told me stories about people waking up with the phone wrapped around the cord wrapped around their neck, having choked to death. And of course, Ona went on to paralyze me with Parkinson's. I mean, she's paralyzed her fetish. They send innuendos from the war machine to my home about hitting me in the neck and paralyzing me from the waist down. And this is the sort of sadism, bizarre, that UW Dialectical in Seattle fetish about. It's obviously coming from Obama, among other people. And they wanted me as a dummy. How can you hear in a fog? How can you think in move in a paralysis? They wanted me as a dummy, as a golem. And they've used me that way over the years. I mean, it seemed like an unusual move to talk to me about the day the earth stood still the night before Wall Street crashed on October 19th, 1987. But people didn't know about Tune in those days. John Stockwell came the next day. He was from the CIA. See, Bush has a little apologist story going that he's the one who rescued Patricia Fripp from the madness of Jimmy Carrey. I don't think Robert Fripp was anything other than a high and mighty, holier than thou pervert. Yeah. So, I mean, it's stupid to be disappointed. I mean, I can one of those people who find the plight of the people in Gaza absolutely unbearable. But I didn't notice that they were doing anything but egging on the Texas queers in Maduro Goto. Back in the days when I found what was happening to the queers in San Francisco unbearable too. Sometimes somebody's heart just goes out to the wrong person, or a person who doesn't return. When has a Seattle queer ever returned the favor? I'm a person who's lived in compound, horrifying trauma day in and day out for years. And all they've ever wanted to do is sabotage recovery and gloat that they sided as a matter of principle with the people who were behind the attack on them. That's what happens in perfect crime. The victims accuse the victims, and the perpetrators are celebrated. Perfect crime. Leonard Sudini was the perfect crime, and still is. We have people like Katie Halper and Aaron Mate suspiciously plying droll stories. Steve Langer had Balzac's droll stories loudly exhibited in his living room back in the days when we played Scrabble with Leslie Sinetta Katz. And later visiting that area with Mi Young-ju, the Korean girl, Mi Young-ju. So Norm Finkelstein's like, we told them we were going to do this. I mean, you have to read his lips to get it. That there's this legion of like jury who were in on with the Gail Burston, who said, well, we'll go out and what Louis Lapham called our tears will be for sale. Daniel Burston, Library of Congress must have known. Louis Lapham obviously knew. He talked about the tinkling of little bells in The White Rabbit, which was his Beatles expose. When Sharon Samuels came out and tinkled little bells to determine that I was deaf when she introduced me to Gail Burston. And Lapham was like carrying on about priceless forgeries and what became of the quote-unquote president's census. I was from Bush's ship in the Navy. I was a Donaldson. Most tragic satire in American history. They paralyzed me. I've threatened to do even worse. As a child, they paralyzed me. I couldn't. They petted me. You think I was frozen? The murderers who claim for Seattle's douchebag show that I was out just getting high know that I'm very touchy. I'm not gay. I defend the gays, but I'm not gay. Think I would just sit there dumbfounded and let them touch my genitals in a dark car, in a suffocating garage? I was hostage and I couldn't move because of what they were doing to me. Peter Gabriel was criminally insane. His fascist ninny of a psychotic, misleading, lawyer, Amanda Harcourt, came on to me just like Seattle and just like Nosferatu. You'll have a safe zone. We love you, man. And that's Mel Gibson shining through that crowd. We love you, man. And Edwards says, come here, we'll give you protection from abuse. Ha ha ha. Castrate you, protect him from abuse. Ha ha ha. Ban you from school. Poison you in the mouth. Oh, that's harmless, the clinic doctor says. It's harmless to be castrated. Poison you in the mouth. It's harmless. The Stranger was a book that Rosine Monteleone, Rosa, put in the book return to get my attention. It was also the network that came and attacked and murdered my father and set up two virgins. That's a war game, which originated, I mean, that's certainly evidence for that Lenin Houdini was their perfect crime, because he's the one who headlined the concept two virgins, but it's encrypted in the whole thing. 1717 was the Gran Torino house, semi-detached, that they had my father in. Phone number was 6780 instead of like implies number 9 and 8080. It's when the bell tinkler girl calls me and husky, uh, I think I'm pregnant. And then they come up in the same house, somebody named James Child, James W. Child. And they preference code analysis of nuclear war, the moral dimension. And then they supernova this guy. Ambush now goes zoop. It's like a Frippertronics song. It's like a Sherborne House address accelerated into nanoseconds. Zoop. And they blow up the Lebanon dock. Boom. And they put supernova and star sandwich over here. And then they crash together. The porno junkie with the Islamo-fascists, and see how that goes. Instead of ending hunger, the idea is time has come. Clinics, schools, public housing, ecology, preservation, Doctors Without Borders, Save the Children. None of that. None of that. No. Ringo is going to tell Robert Fripp to drop his pick so that he can say virginity proves rape, and Bush will draw a line in the sand at Gaza for Mediterranean housing on the shores of Trump Ocean. It wasn't just a perfect crime, it was too good to be true. America came out waving a white flag to Adolf Hitler. And the women came out like Sabines, bearing their brassieres and saying, "Take me, Adolf. It's for my own safety, Adolf." And Ono wriggled at the golem dildo that was given the shrivel and paralyzed. And she said, "Nanny, nanny, nanny," just like a Wattenmaker bunny. And Ripper, Shannon Harp saying, "Whoa, that's rather low on the bar. That's not important. Shannon old Shannon old harps."